Hello America, welcome to the nation's first solar hydrogen house in the Western Hemisphere. Woo! My name is Mike Stritsky and I'm going to give you a little tour of some of my creations and some of my life's work over the last 30 years. I've been a hydrogen fuel cell proponent, and everything at my hydrogen house is powered by solar hydrogen that I make 3 months of the year. So truly, this is the cure for the energy crisis and for 98% of all greenhouse gases. So, with further ado, here we go. So what you see here is a Toyota Mirai. These are our production vehicle. There are 8,000 of these in California. There are 200 refueling stations planned. There are 40 now. These vehicles have a range of about 312 miles on a single charge, and they can refuel in less than 5 minutes. And it's a pretty fast performance car given the fact that we're not dragging around 2 tons of batteries. So every cycle of the battery of this car, you're going to get the same amount of energy, unlike a battery that gets slower as the battery is depleted. So this is truly the cure for the disease, not the treatment. This car will produce 12 gallons of drinking water every tankful. And this is what the astronauts drink. This is NASA technology brought home to spaceship Earth. So what you see, I've got a very colorful logo provided by Toyota here explaining where all the parts are in the car. So most people expect the engine to be under the hood. Well, sorry, there's an electric motor there. There is the air conditioning system, and there is the motor controller for the electric drive. There is no internal combustion in this car. It's an electrochemical reaction similar to a battery. So the next thing that we go to is this item right here. This is what's called the boost converter. So this steps up the voltage 250 volts from the fuel cell and moves it up to 660 volts for the drivetrain. So it actually increases the voltage. The higher you increase the voltage, the less losses that you get. An electric motor is 98% efficient at converting electrical energy into power. A lot more than your regular internal combustion engine, which is anywhere from 4 to 12%. So you can go 5 times further on this car per BTU than you would on a gasoline car. So this car gets the equivalent of around 70 miles or more per gallon depending on how you drive. And it produces drinking water, 12 gallons or more per tankful depending on the relative humidity in the air.
So you don't have to stop for drinks anymore.
Well, I do occasionally. I did in Death Valley.
You can find that.
Okay, so the next piece here is the hydrogen fuel cell. And notice where it's at. It's under the driver's seat. So I guess it must be pretty safe, huh? If they're putting it right on your butt to keep you warm, right? So this car takes oxygen from the front as you're driving down the road, combines it with hydrogen in this tank here, and there's another tank right here. An electrochemical reaction happens where, just like a battery, it converts the hydrogen and oxygen combined to form water, H2O, and as it does, it gives off freed electrons in the form of electricity and a little bit of heat. So you're looking at a car that basically is a game changer. This car can start up in minus 40 degrees. It can operate in 120 degree deserts. Toyota has tested this car all throughout the world to make sure it was a viable product. And they're ready. They've invested millions in advertising, Super Bowl commercials, Back to the Future. All of these things that Toyota has bet the farm on, that this technology will advance. They became the world's largest automaker by adopting the hybrids when we didn't. So, you know, he who fails to change becomes extinct like the dinosaurs. So it's time for America and the world to adopt a technology that's a game changer. It'll eliminate 90% of all the greenhouse gases and produce drinking water. Think what that does for societal benefits for your health and what it does for the budgets of everybody. We're not taking energy from hell, and you know, when we can pull it from heaven. 80% of every molecule in the universe is hydrogen. we're mostly hydrogen because we're mostly water. This is the ability to be your own power plant and oil refinery with your energy delivered free from the nuclear ball in the sky every day. 1 hour of sunlight will power the planet for a year. We have everything we need. Just the will to do it is all we need. So I'm enlisting everybody that's watching this to become a soldier and a patriot, and vote with your checkbook and demand technology that will change everyone's world. We have the power, but do we have the will to do it? The answer is up to you. I can only lead the way. I can lead the horse to the water, but I can't make them drink. The only thing I can do in my life is lead by example. And you'll get a piece of that example here today is when we're filling just 2 pieces of the hydrogen house. The refueling takes place here. We pop the gas cap. 5 minutes, you've got a full tank and you're ready to go. Not like the Teslas where you got to wait 9 hours to get a charge, along with a line of a half a mile of customers looking for that supercharger on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
These cars have a full trunk in them, so you're not compromising on any space. And this is the only technology that can power trains, boats, airplanes without paying the weight penalty. And we're time waiting to fill up. So behind you is another vehicle that I built. This is my ATV that I run around the property. So this is your standard Polaris electric Ranger that we've converted to solar and hydrogen fuel cell. So we're going to be filling both of these vehicles. This standard vehicle on batteries alone will get about 25 miles. With the additional hydrogen in this vehicle, we can do over 200 miles. And this vehicle has the ability to make its own hydrogen from the solar that's on the vehicle. So as it's sitting waiting between uses, it's actually charging the batteries up and making hydrogen. So this can be used in the farm, it can be used in the business, it can be used for tourism. There's so many uses for these types of vehicles around the world. And like I said, transportation produces 56% of all greenhouse gases. Think about all your energy coming free from the sun. Solar's big, but you can't store it. Once you make hydrogen, it's forever. It's as good today as it is 100 million years from now. And it's the lightest fuel on the planet and the most available. Okay, so we're going to go down. We're going to fill the Mirai first. And I'll show you how the whole system operates here, from the solar panels to the storage to the conversion into hydrogen to filling the vehicle. Well, guys, should we light them up?
Yeah, we should.
Fire the engines up.
We're in eco mode, as you can tell. So we're in low power mode.
Woo. Wow.
So we're going to back up to my portable refueling station that's connected to the permanent one here. So I have the ability to run this car as a generator to power my home for 30 weeks. Think of all the crises that are happening around the world that there's no power. Look at all the fires that are happening in California, that these people are going to be out of power for months. So I have the ability to power all of those homes. I can power 60 homes from this car. We should be close enough. Okay, so the car is ready to be fueled. So it's got your standard gas cap button. And you can open the fueling compartment. This is no different than how they do it in California. Oh, one thing I should tell you about this car, if you're ever thirsty and want to get a drink of water, there's an H2O button. So a little push of the button and you can get some drinking water in the Mojave Desert at Death Valley like I did a couple of years ago when I drove this between Vegas and Malibu for Solar Power International. Okay, so next thing we do is we pull out the hose, put it in the vehicle, and we throw the lever. So now we're hooked up to the car. If you have a commercial station, you won't be doing this, but this is a little more manual because we're doing it from a home-built station that I built myself. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure all the tanks are on. So we're going to open the valves. And I'm going to regulate the hydrogen going in through this valve. So if you listen, you can hear it going into the car. When you hear that noise stop, which is the hydrogen going against the check valve, you know the tanks in the car and in my storage system are balanced.
So this works off low, high pressure
Okay,
moving to lower
so
pressure.
while we're waiting for the car to fill, I'm going to show you where it all starts. Okay, so if you want to follow me around. So as you can see here, this is my power plant. Okay, there's 27 kilowatts of solar here, which is enough to do about 5 to 7 homes. I have the panels on the wall, which are thin film that never get covered with snow. So I always have a source. Okay, so let's talk about where the power goes. So the first thing that happens is we pick up the solar power from the big nuclear ball in the sky, delivered free, and it goes into inverters that go into my local grid. So if you notice, to the left and the right of the solar panels on the wall of the building are inverters. Those convert high voltage DC electricity into 240 volt AC power, which is house power. That's what every house in the country runs off of. Okay? First thing it does is all the loads in my house, my washer, my dryer, my central air, my swimming pool pump, my hot tub, all of those loads get satisfied in real time from the big nuclear ball in the sky through the solar panels. Now, so where does the power go next? Okay, let's take a walk in the garage and I'll show you where the power goes. By the way, if you want to know how I store the power, if you look at the tanks here, these are regular old reconditioned propane tanks that have been here for 18 years and that were in service since 1971 and decommissioned in 2000. I reconverted them. These tanks will last indefinitely because hydrogen's inert. There's no breakdown of the metals or anything because it's low carbon steel. So this is a perfect source to store it, but this is only just one of the means. There's so many ways, like metal hydrides, chemical hydrides, high pressure tanks, liquid tanks, the list goes on and on. And we've had this for over 100 years. This is not like we started this tomorrow. So it's been around for a while. All right, come on inside. Next project we're working on, hydrogen jet ski. Already did the snowmobiles last year. welcome to my messy shop. So, you know how you can tell whether things are happening? It's how clean the workspace is. If you walk into a place that you're going to invest in and you don't see things happening, you know it's a front. The real deal happens here. All right, I have 14 patents altogether, and I've got 6 of them are in hydrogen generation. So I know a thing or two. I build hydrogen cars for every major automaker. This is the Peugeot fire truck that I spent 2 years in Paris building, that runs in the channel between France and England. So I built boats, cars, airplanes. I've worked for NASA. I sat on the SAE Fuel Cell Standards Committee. I've been on Discovery Science. We've been in the New York Times a number of times. I think I got a copy of the New York Times magazine. This was the New York Times magazine that they did 9 pages on the hydrogen house project. And the article was called Falling Down Green. Here's the article here. So that's the article that was in the Times magazine. So this house is known around the world, worldwide, and you know, everybody told me this could not be done. They're doing a story on my life called At War with the Dinosaurs. I'm sorry, not At War with the Dinosaurs. The Keys to the Cage, that will be coming out in the next year, where I explain all the trials and tribulations I've gone through in the last 20 years to get here. You know, they basically said that, you know, this would never happen because renewable would never be cheap enough to compete with grid electricity. Well, guess what? When I started this house, it was $10 a watt for solar panels. Now it's 30 cents. So I think that myth is kind of over. Now that we have an abundance of renewable energy all over the country, to where people are exporting to other states for free, now it's time to turn that energy into hydrogen gas, put it in the pipelines, and ship it around the world like Japan is doing today. Okay, back to where I left off. The solar panels come in, goes through this wall of inverters, converts it to house current. So when all the loads in the house are satisfied, these 2 yellow boxes here are my grid tie battery inverters. It takes the energy from my local grid, and it puts it in this bank of batteries here. This bank of batteries has been here for 16 years. These are lead acid gel cells, simple, stupid, 98% recyclable technology. This represents 1.5 days of storage for me. So after 1.5 days, I tap out the hydrogen from the tanks you saw outside, run it through a fuel cell, get the heat, water, and electricity back again. That's 147 days worth of storage. That's the equivalent of 60,000 pounds of batteries that I don't have to throw in the environment every 5 years. Okay, my batteries are full, the loads in the house are satisfied. What's the next thing that happens? I go walk down here. This is the electrolyzer. So excess solar energy goes into it. We produce hydrogen gas that fills all those tanks you saw outside. So after 3.5 months, all of those are filled and I'm done for the year. Every year I make more hydrogen than I need, so I keep inventing new things for it to go in. So one of the cool things about it, medical grade oxygen. So this is what I'm putting out to the environment. Think of an energy system that this is the byproduct. Also, it's got a side effect. You ever heard the song, "Love is like oxygen"? You get too much, you get too high, not enough, you're gonna die. Love is like oxygen. Oxygen's like oxygen.
So you can
This is medical grade. So we
this
do
is a little station over here where people sit down and breathe the oxygen.
Yeah. So what people don't know is this is a holistic cure for a lot of diseases. Over the course of the years, we've lost a lot of oxygen in the atmosphere to the burning of internal combustion engines, fires, and when those levels go down, a lot of the diseases or microorganisms or bacteria basically thrive in low oxygen environments. So I'll give you an example, Lyme's disease. Lyme's disease is in you forever. This is the only thing that can kill it because it can break the blood-brain membrane. So when I am making hydrogen during my season, I invite people that have Lyme's disease to sit in this chair and breathe the oxygen for 2 hours. And after 2 weeks, they're cured. The high oxygen levels kills the spirochetes, and they can resume their normal life. But this is a holistic cure. And we know what happens to holistic cures. I'm not going to go into that one. Every disease is on this planet, and every cure is here. We just have to go find it. And I'm just showing you one of the cures. So a little bit of how this device works. It's an electrochemical reaction. There's no combustion in this whatsoever. It takes electrons, electricity goes in, the anode produces hydrogen, cathode produces oxygen, it's separated in here. Everything is totally safe. This is safer than any fuel we know. If you took all the tanks outside and I ran tracer machine gun bullets through them, nothing happens. Hydrogen's trying to get out without oxygen. It can't react till it's empty. Then there's no energy in the tank. If you have a leak, it's 45 miles an hour into outer space. You can't chase it with a flame. If you have a hydrogen fire up here, it's never coming down. Natural gas or propane's heavier than air. It accumulates in large volumes, waits for an ignition source, and city blocks blow up. We've all seen the remnants of that. That will never happen with hydrogen. 100,000 cubic feet of hydrogen in the Hindenburg. It went up half a second. What people saw coming down in that event was the skin of the airship, which was solid rocket fuel, and the diesel tanks. When you burn hydrogen, you get water. This stove here burns hydrogen. The stove produces water. We use pure water to make the hydrogen here, but we get it all back. You know, people are always commenting and saying, well, you know, you consume all of this water, you know, we're going to run out of water. People fail to realize that these systems are water positive. I use the water here, and I get more than that back after it's processed through a fuel cell, because I pick up the additional moisture in the air as well. So I'm turning dirty water into clean water, back into clean water again. So nothing gets consumed into this process here except for photons. And once a photon passes, we never get it back again. Just like when the wind blows, we never get it back again. Just like when the hydroelectric plant, the water is over the dam, you never get it back again. This is the ability to store renewable energy forever. This is the cure for what the problem was, they said, with renewable energy. What do you do when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine? You use the stored hydrogen you made from the year or several years or 100 years before. This is the only technology that you can put into a box for 300 years, take it out, and it works. I can take hydrogen on any aircraft in the world in a compressed hydride, and you can't take bottled water. So if that doesn't attribute to the safety of hydrogen, I don't know what else does. All right, let's go out and check our cars, see how we're doing. No more noise means we're full. So we shut off the hydrogen here, we close our tanks. So if you noticed here, this setup is on a pallet, okay? So this pallet, when connected to the car with this amount of hydrogen, will run this car and power my home for 30 weeks. So what you see here is a drivable generator. So this car has a power takeoff unit in it. Excuse me, let me get the door. You see this plug? This plug plugs into a series of inverters that we built for this car that will put out 240 volt AC power, which is house current, that can plug into any house. So this car is capable of running my house for 30 weeks using an inverter that mounts up under here and slides in and out of the trunk. So now I have a drivable generator that I can do Burning Man, Coachella, a rock concert, you know, wedding, party in the field. So, you know, they're going to be running the whole car out instead of generators.
So you could run a movie studio in the middle of the desert for 30 weeks.
Yes.
Wow.
So they deliver one of these, the car drives up, you hook it up just like you see it here. So I think the next thing that you need to understand is to see the rest of the system. Typically this would be intellectual property that I wouldn't give out free to the public, but the need is so great now that I feel that I'm compelled to at least give people an understanding of just how possible this is. The only investment money that's been into this whole entire hydrogen house is out of my pocket. My profits from my businesses for the last 5 years, I've spent over $3 million to make this happen, just because they said it couldn't be done. Well, things are only impossible when we say it's impossible. When we say it's impossible, it truly is impossible. We do things every single